So React Router is a really, really cool thing that is probably going to be on every app you really build from here on out. And where are my slideshow notes? There we go. So with this being said, it's always good to take a minute and relax and pause and answer a big question, kind of review, recenter ourselves. We've been in React now for what, 9 days? Monday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 10 days, or 10th day inside of React. What does React give to us? What does React do for us? Why React? What is React? Dante.
It makes HTML injection really easy.
Makes HTML injection easy. So I'll replace the word injection with manipulation. But yeah, okay, cool. So it makes working with HTML easier. What else does it give us?
Organization.
Organization for our code, right? All of our logic, all of our stuff on our page is now components, right? What else?
The components make it so if you break one thing, it's only that one thing broken.
Yep.
And it's completely abstracted from everything.
Yes, everything is by itself separated. Anything else?
Oh,
Joe and then Phil?
like a life cycle of like how you render something. So like there's like different states of your web page.
Yeah, it has built-in life cycles that help us organize when things happen on our page.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to care about like when someone leaves our page. We have components unmount events or when the page loads and stuff like that. Phil?
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. We have control of when things render, I think.
Yeah, like we have way more control of when things render. And as we've been rendering for the past 10 days, we have really been rendering on one page, right? All of our apps have been one page big. We know that's not how websites work, right? Websites usually have multiple pages, a lot more pages. And if we recall from the very first day, React produces for us something called SPAs, single page application. Does this phrase sound familiar?
Yes.
Yes?
Only because I read something about it last night.
Yeah, right? This term is everywhere, you know. So what does this mean? In a traditional web page, a multiple page application, we have something, whenever we go to a new page, we make a request back to our server. Our server loads up the entire page and sends it back to us. So each page is its own request, loading up everything all the time by itself. A SPA, on the other hand, mimics multiple pages, but it's really just one page. So even though we might seem like we have 10 different pages on our site, it's really just one page, and JavaScript is switching out the pages. So whenever a user first comes to our site, it loads up everything, quote unquote everything, and a page is client side versus server side.
Wait, the pages are client side?
Yep. Yep, because that's where the client, that's where the pages are.
So does that take a lot of computing power off the servers, huh? Because
It does.
your laptop is doing all the work.
Yeah, that's why SPAs. That's one of the reasons why SPAs came into popularity. Instead of the servers, because servers, as we'll find out in 2 weeks, are just beefy computers sitting in a closet somewhere. Like that's it. It's nothing magical. I know, right? Sorry.
Beefy
They're so
computers.
small.
They are really beefy computers. They have like a shit ton of RAM, a shit ton of memory, a shit ton of space. They're just really beefy.
Like a 6-pack.
Yeah. They're the true ones that are flexing around here. But really, you're going to hear this term a lot. The scale of the web, or web scale, or modern computing scalability issues. One server doing a shit ton of work for 1 million users is not very effective. I don't care how beefy our theoretical server in our closet is, it has limitations. What SPAs do, SPAs transfer some of that computation from the server down to the clients. Because if we can have our clients, our laptops, our phones, do some of the rendering, that'll make our server load a lot easier.
And it becomes more scalable.
And cheaper. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, right? It's amazing.
Well, render times may differ for each client then.
Yeah. But it'll still run the same code.
But is there a cache of JavaScript in the browser.
There could be, and that helps. That adds another. Caching is another layer of complexity. So yeah. So how do we do this? Well, in React, we use a package. Yesterday we talked about packages, right? Yesterday we talked about Axios to help us with fetching. Today we're going to talk about something called React Router DOM. React Router DOM allows us to have pages on our website. Each page on our website is actually a component now. So now our app.js is converted not from here's all of our HTML and stuff. Our app.js is now kind of like a table of contents for our entire site. When I'm at localhost 3000/nothing, load up my home component. If I'm at localhost/3000/about, load up my about me component. So now I can have this kind of lookup table thing that says, hey, when I'm on this page, when my URL, my address bar says this thing, load this component. How am I feeling so far? Because that idea of us swapping stuff out based on the URL, that gives us pagination. Pagination is cool because now I can actually bookmark things on my site. I can send them out. I can use descriptive URLs. When I share stuff on social media, I can see what the actual page is. So it's really useful. So what does that look like? Are y'all ready for this? Cool. Don't care. We're doing it anyways. This is now my app.js. This is my app.js for a villains website that I built at some point. So this is a condensed version, of course. I left out a couple of imports that we didn't need. But really, we're importing a couple things that are new to us from the React Router DOM. And our render function looks a bit different, right? So let's talk about what we're importing first. We're importing router, route, and switch. Router is what controls the address bar and the history and the forwards and the backs and stuff like that. That's pretty much an outline. You can think of that as noise today. We'll expand on this later, but for today it's just noise and ceremony. Switch says, hey, whenever we're on a page, this is the content that we're going to be switching out. So think of switch as like a container. Okay? Now the route, each route is a new page on our website. So this website has 4 different pages. It has a splash page, a landing page. It has a all villains page, /villains. And each villain gets its own page. And it also has an error page. That last route acts like a catch-all. And it's a catch-all because it doesn't have a path. Dante, you have a question?
So the path is the browser.
Yep.
Is the browser text, and then your component is basically your component name, right?
Yeah. The path is, hey, what's in the browser? What's in the address bar? If it exactly matches, load this component.
Is it class name or component name? And is there a difference?
Component name. For today, there's not a different. On Monday, there'll be a different story. Don't say anything, Don.
What would you put in between the tags there? Like, if you put text in there, what would happen?
Out here, absolutely nothing. Today, absolutely nothing.
So because there's no path on that,
Don had a question first.
So whenever that'll load, open up a whole new page for your component on the web.
Yes. So your browser will go to the next page.
Okay.
So you know how if you're on like Wikipedia, you're in the article for like best 80s bands, and then you click like your favorite 80s band and it goes to that page.
Okay.
That's what this is doing.
Okay. But you're not necessarily creating another page.
Right. I'm not going to a new page. I'm mimicking the effect of going to a new page.
Just going to.
So we're just loading new content on the same page.
Yeah. So it's the same page, new content, new URL. New address.
same DOM.
Different DOM. Because it's a different component. Oh.
Wait.
Yeah, no. Ooh.
But who's
Maybe that's not
but
before.
aren't these all exported to?
Yep, they're all exported into app. Live, Hector, Amanda, and Dante.
Why would it be a different page if it's a different DOM?
Because it's a different component. So like these components can't see each other unless we do some wiring later.
Okay, but as we've been working right now, it's all been on the same DOM.
Yep. Yep.
So is this like another virtual DOM?
In a sense, yeah. It's a second page. Remember week 1 how we created websites that had multiple pages? It's like that. I know.
Okay.
The component piece by page, is that from our side or their side?
Our side. These are stuff that I named. Amanda and Dante.
Okay, until we go down a path.
Yep.
None of these display.
This one will. The splash page.
Okay.
Because this matches the
Alright,
empty
so
routes.
this does export something to, okay.
Dante.
So you're gonna have like basically you'll have an anchor tag or something, and then the on-click event or whatever will be to change the address of your address bar, right?
So funny you should mention that. We'll come back to this later. For us to create a link, this is what we would do. A link is something that's added as part of React Router DOM. For all intents and purposes, this is just a fancy A tag. That's it. We can do more stuff with it. There's a lot more power there. Dynamic routes, passing state, stuff like that. But for today, it's a fancy A tag. This will actually be rendered out into an A tag. Once we actually build this, it's going to be an A tag with an href.
Once it compiles,
Yeah.
it turns into an
Yep. Like I said, there's a lot more power here. So, but this is something that we should use to see. So this is how we navigate to a new page.
So in our console log, it'll look like an anchor.
Yeah. How are we feeling so far? Feeling pretty good. Alan?
I have one question about that previous page.
Mhm.
So, like, we're building this so that we can access multiple pages, but this is only one page, right? That's currently on here. Or
So-
is there like a villains page? And
Yeah. This actually isn't a page. This is like a table of contents. So whenever this is loaded to a screen, it's going, hey, does the URL match any one of these? If it does, load up that component.
Okay.
If it doesn't match anything, then load my error 404 page.
That makes sense.
And this component needs eventually an export, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, this component has an export. Again, this is a slimmed down version.
I am very excited about this.
Yeah, right. This is kind of like our first real step into like actual websites. Not that what we've been building has been actual websites, but I'm sure it's been very not straightforward, not simple or straightforward, very small scale. Right? Like, oh, build me one page that has these 5 things and that's it, right? But with this, now we can build sites. Like, that's awesome. But with building a whole bunch of sites means we got to build a whole bunch of pages, right? Sort of. This is where things get fun and interesting. We can have, I know, right?
Interesting didn't sound super positive.
So, this is where, yes.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
I
no.
didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no,
I just
you're
meant
fine.
like render's like kind of different now because
It
before
is.
it was rendering something that we saw.
Mhm.
Now it's rendering something in the background.
Yeah.
It makes sense to us, but like
Yeah.
they're not gonna see it.
Yeah, this is another layer of abstraction over it. We've
Yeah.
taken pretty much everything we're doing and putting that in a container. Now we're working in a new container around it. So these components still have a render function that still behaves the same way. This does JSX,
Mhm.
but now our app is now different. So everything we're doing now is actually going to be in a child component.
How come you didn't have to import a component?
I would.
Oh, you
Again,
would.
this is slimmed down. This is only the new stuff.
So is this something we just put on top before we start coding?
Pretty much like when I started a new project, like, oh, I'm gonna add Axios, I'm gonna add React Router DOM, and call it that.
Okay, so because each one of those are component pages, so those pages are gonna have little components
Yeah.
linked to them as well.
So, quick note about project structure now, and we'll see this in about 30 minutes. We have a components folder, right? So now, I typically like to also like to have a pages folder that has where I put my actual like page components, and I have a components folder that's for my actual components of my website. So like in my pages folder, I would have splash page, villain list, and villain, and arrow 104. But on inside of my components, I'd have like my nav bar, I'd have a villain component, I'd have a footer component, stuff like that. The actual pieces of the page.
Is that to keep track of like you give different nav bars for different pages?
So there's actually in this product something we'll get to either next week or sometime during the full stack backend portion. There's a way to do like what's called a layout page inside of React, where it says, hey, everything around the content is the same, just swap out the content.
So you're just working with like the main body of it,
Yeah.
everything else stays the same.
Cool. Yeah. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. But yes, that is a problem. So we can make a butt ton of pages, right? But we don't have to actually make a butt ton of pages. What we can do is that we can actually use URL parameters to make a whole bunch of pages. Or route parameters to make a whole bunch of pages. Did you ever go to a page where it says like facebook.com/profile/Mark? And it takes you to Mark's profile? Or like twitter.com/DonIsAwesome29 kind of thing? Yeah, that last part, that's a URL parameter. And that's dynamic, right? So do you think that someone at Twitter actually made a page? That's no, right? They don't make a page per user.
They probably use Google API like URL shortener.
They use URL parameters. and what they do is that they do something like happening right here on this third route.
And there's just billions of them.
Yeah. So, I don't know, it's terrible, right?
That's not billions. I'm wrong, right? That's
Yes. Yeah. So like this one route covers every single villain that we have. Because it has a parameter in it, that's that colon ID.
not.
So now the URL is not /villain/:ID, it's /villain/3.
And that ID is based on input
Yeah.
of what the user decides their page needs to have.
Dante?
So those are in a hierarchy path, like it's gonna run through the top to the
Yep.
bottom, right?
Yep.
So it's trying to find any of those.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's important, right? You
Yep.
wouldn't want to put your error in the top because it would just come up with the error page.
Correct. These are in order that you wanted to check. Usually your paths are unique, so order doesn't matter unless you're doing like catch-all like this. But you should have it in some sort of logical order.
I don't want to get too far ahead, but like in your villain component, would you have ID as a state?
So not a state. That ID is going to be a value that's passed to it from its parent.
So it's a prop.
So it's a problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like a prop, huh? Yeah, right? So let's actually check out what this looks like. So here we have my character list. This is actually my villains list page. Okay? Let me, yeah. So like this should be, oh my god, that's a typo. Typo. There we go. So here is my villain list component. So when I'm on /villains, I load this page. And as we see, it is creating a list item for each villain. And we see that we have a link to it. Let me add something here real fast.
And then
Isn't this just gonna give you a lot of links to all the villains in your
Yeah,
list?
use it
Yep.
really fast.
Okay.
Doesn't it need a return?
it does.
Yeah.
Return. And then that's fine, that's there. Why are you giving me an issue? Expected to
Did you
come.
return me parentheses?
Open parentheses after return.
Good one, team.
We did it.
Expected a comma? Anyways, I know that's right.
I have had that happen too, and it's confusing.
That happened to me last
All the
night.
time.
Like, you have an array and it won't like map it.
Yeah, map functions.
You're an array. I know you are. Anyways, this will render me out a list of links to that page. So this will be a whole bunch of tags, a whole bunch of divs. Inside of each divs, we're going to have a link tag, which if we remember is actually just an A tag. And here we have a link to villains / whatever the ID of the villains. You know, if you hover over links, you kind of see the link in the bottom corner. So we're going to create a whole bunch of that. Feeling good with that so far?
Doesn't this prop's ID need to be in brackets or no?
No. Because it already is. If we look at this link tag here,
Yeah.
it's already in squiggles. Because this 2 equals some JavaScript string. And that JavaScript string is villains plus the ID.
No.
So it's just like the opposite of interpolation. I guess, is it interpolation?
I could use an interpolation here, yeah.
I was gonna say, it's the same thing, it's just like,
Yeah.
like for reverse, whatever.
Yeah, if I wanted to use interpolation. I would do something like that. Hector.
Will we have to know the villain's ID or input it every time?
So your villain's ID,
We'll get it from the parent.
we'll get it from either the parent, a JSON file, an API, or something like that.
Okay.
To an extent, it doesn't even matter. It could be 5, it could be 3, it could be like their actual name as well. It doesn't matter. So now on the other side, on the actual villain controller, or the actual villain component, this is what we would do. We'd say, hey, component amount, wherever I'm getting my data from, either a JSON file or something like that, go into my props, find where I matched, give me my parameter, and give me the parameter called ID. Whew. This dot state or this dot props dot match dot params dot ID. That's a lot of mouthful, and it does make sense. If we kind of break it down real fast, props, the data is being passed to us, right? Somewhere further up my component chain, I'm getting data passed to me.
We call it match on the other side, right?
Match comes to us from React Router. Match is what URL did we match on. If we recall, the ID is inside of the URL, right?
Right.
So we're saying, oh, we matched this URL.
So it has to be rendered, it's not gonna work.
What?
It has to be, whatever is typed in has to be rendered. It's the exact from a few
Yeah.
pages ago.
Yep, it has to be exact. So there, if you leave off exact, it will display any that match the URL, which could be useful for some UIs, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. Not how I would solve the problem, but that's just me. So what did we match on? What URL did we match on? That URL has some parameters. That parameters is an object, because we can have multiple parameters inside of the URL. And we what we're looking for the ID. I know it's a long path, it makes sense. If you break it down, it's like, whew, you're gonna be typing that out a lot. Yes, Dante?
So usually when we give something props, we have to name it on the tag in app.js, but you're saying with router, it's kind of the same thing, but the thing that we name it is actually the URL change.
Yes, and the thing where that ID comes from is right here. Where we define the routes. We're going, hey, this thing is now props being passed into my component. Yeah, it's in match in params, but it's going to be passed in as a prop. Same idea, slightly different syntax. I don't know how much we love syntax.
So how do you,
Yay, new syntax.
I would think
Hooray.
props would need to be here, but. I guess I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah, it's same idea, different syntax.
okay.
Dante?
So, when you, do you set like state, when you're setting state, is that how you set up all your parameters? Like,
So each one of these has its own state. So if I wanted to put that ID inside a state, I would add a constructor that I'd say, hey, this dot state equals an object, ID equals this dot props dot match dot params dot ID. I know, right? This is nuts. I'm loving it.
What are you trying to match? I think
The match is the URL. This thing up here. Thing in the address bar. Hell, even if we look at this, we'd probably see some parameters, right? Slides.com/markdewey-1. There's probably no markdewey-1 component anywhere. That's probably a parameter that says, hey, go find this user. And then we have React Router review other front-end developers. What does React do for us live? That's another parameter that says, what slideshow am I on? Unfortunately, that's what this thing is named. Change that.
Instead of the context equals editing
That's-
pound
yep.
is also a parameter.
Yes.
Okay, because you can edit this and give information at the
Yep.
end, at the end of the word that it means.
Yep. So stuff that's over here is a URL parameter. The stuff that's after the question mark right here, that's a query string parameter.
That's why that's in all our APIs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing that's over here with the slashes, that's a URL, that's a path. That's an endpoint, that's a resource, that's a location. The question mark parameters at the end of it, you can think of those as modifiers on that path. So, yeah.
So that's why there's always a question mark before your API key, because
Usually,
that's
yeah.
a specific modifier for you.
Exactly.
So params.id is going to be something that's returned in the JSON or the API.
This comes to us from React Router.
when you're app.js.
Yep.
We usually make that name up, but
Yeah.
not anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
We can
still do.
make up this name. This can be whatever we want. This is not whatever we want. This is set in stone.
So instead of like numbering the villains, we could count them by Greek alphabet or whatever.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter to that.
Right. Yeah, this isn't typed or anything like that. Even though we're calling it an ID, it doesn't have to be a number. It could be a name, it could be a Greek letter, it could be whatever we want.
Could it be a smell?
A smell.
So we're passing this component IDs.
Yeah. We're saying, hey, villain component, we're on page that's villain/5. Load me up to the 5th villain. How are we feeling?
Are we importing a list of IDs?
Nope.
No.
Nope. We're just giving an ID. We're like, hey, here's an ID, do something with it.
So that ID is changing somewhere else in another component.
Yep. So you can almost think of this as we're building pie. We're making a pie. Right? The recipe is still the same as over crust. I still have the nice top. But the filling is a URL parameter.
Any kind
Sometimes,
of pie we want.
exactly. Sometimes it can be a strawberry, sometimes it can be a chocolate, sometimes it can be a blueberry pie. It doesn't matter. We all have a crust, we all have a nice little top. But the insides are different. Doesn't matter where it's coming from, right? But that's the different part. That is the parameter.
That's the dynamicness of it. We talk about pies a lot, don't we?
I like it.
You should have a pie day.
No, I really like
We
pies.
missed
on
it.
Great.
It's in March.
I'm down for that. It is a celebrated Poland.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There is actually a pie day that's not 3.14. There is an actual day.
Yeah.
It's like in January.
No, it's
Big.
But we.
We're gonna have it this year.
And we will be in cohort during that.
I need pie squared.
What is it?
Oh yeah, pie square day.
Well, not
Or-
square,
or
but
two
two
pies.
pies.
Yeah.
We could have a pie for pie day.
We could have 2 pies for pie days, my point.
Alright, it's getting technical.
If that's my excuse to eat 2 whole pies in one day, I'm actually way okay with
What
that.
day is the 28th on?
It's after the 27th.
I gotta know when this is gonna be. What day? So that I can prep
It's
and
a
run.
Friday.
Yes. I know what we're doing for socials.
In-house social.
Woo! So, feeling okay? Feeling good? Feeling bad? Feeling great? Feeling fuzzy? Feeling warm? Feeling cold?
Hungry.
Hungry?
Yeah, the pie.
Me too. Me too.
So the first half is pretty much the same, we're just doing a plus.
Yeah, like it's just a little bit of. We've now like taken what we're doing and we're kind of zoomed out a little bit, but everything's pretty much exactly the same.
Okay.
Okay, cool. 10:37. Let's take a 13-minute break. Come back at 10:50. Let's build a website with like 5 pages.
You got a typo.
Where?
Info.
Yeah, information.
Just short
Seconds with you.
We didn't make a Valentine's Day.
I don't know. We might. We already did that. Kind of do something else.
True, but we can expand that into like Disney villains and like Star Trek villains and Star Wars villains.
Can you put in its own
Means-
component?
Let's do
There's the
Pies.
auxiliaries and everything.
What?
let's do pies.
Let's do pies. Let's do pies.
Different pies.
Oh, I like
villains website.
Let's
Oh,
go to
pies.
bakery website that has a pie page and
I mean,
a
you can
cake
do my
page.
future pie shop right here.
Oh yeah, the name's a slice.
We need a pie API.
We should totally do that. That's a great.
Is there a pie API?
Has to swear next Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm gonna get raspberry pie.
Yeah, it might be tough to search for.
Happy pie.
Who's that? Eat pies.
I think it'd be great happy pie.
What are you looking for?
A bakery API? A pastry API. That's it. Pastry API.
Pastry.
I was asking Hector, like, okay, what kind of pie do you want?
Happy pie.
And
What is this?
he's like, all over the board with, like, I want, what's your best one? Like, well, like, in my top 3, like, everyone asks for it, he's like, which is this? And then,
Why do they have a
what is
page
that? I've
in
never had
this?
that. I want that one. And then he's like, but then I love peanut butter. I love peanut butter.
Yeah.
The app?
Yeah, right.
What is the app?
I am
If you're on that page,